Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 7 of the Mind and Muse podcast. I am Caroline, your host, and I am coming to you from the island of Puerto Rico. I live on the western side of the island in a small town called Aguada, and it is a bright Sunday morning here. This is the second time, actually, that I am preparing this podcast, so let's just hope that today everything works out better. You will remember that I have just recently returned from a, let's say, 2-week vacation. I spent some time in the state of New Hampshire with my son, my older son, and my daughter, and the immediate family in the area. And during that time, I took with me 3 works in progress that I had been working on in the previous podcast, and there was plenty of time to work on them over there. It was a family trip, so we traveled a lot and we moved from place to place, but there was always car time, which I could dedicate to crafting. For some reason, I get dizzy in the car if I read or if I try and look back at the person who's sitting behind me and talk to them, but I don't get dizzy when I crochet or knit, so who can explain those things? So I had lots of time to work on these projects, and I just wanted to share a little bit of the updates of how I've gone about with them, and maybe also share with you some future plans of things that I would like to get my hands into, or my needle into, or my hook into. So let's get on with that. But first of all, I wanted to talk about what I'm wearing, because what I chose today, I chose in commemoration of the 2nd year anniversary of the Crochet Cakes podcast. Yes, it's been 2 years already, and the host of the Crochet Cakes podcast, as most of you already know, is my daughter, Clarissa Beth. And for some time, we shared this screen, maybe 6 or 7 months, until she moved away from home to her new home in Florida. So during this month, at some point, she will be celebrating her 2-year anniversary. And so I just wanted to say congratulations to her. So congratulations and best wishes on our behalf. And the reason that I say that what I chose commemorates her podcast is because this is one of the first jewelry pieces that I worked on and presented. I believe it was in the first episode where we podcasted together. So if you're interested in the details, I won't go into them here. You can go to that. I will provide you a link to that podcast below so that you can go and see all the details of this piece. That said, let's move on then to some of the updates on my works in progress. The first one I want to talk about is the elephant in the room. It's big and bulky and sitting right behind me and staring us all in the face. And it is my alchemy cardigan. It was living in this project bag that I was gifted by Charlie of the Love Charlie podcast. Love Charlie Crochet. And she gifted this to me on our trip to Edinburgh. In the bag then was living, for as long as it could fit, this cardigan. It's the Alchemy cardigan from the Make and Do crew. That's Jess of the Make and Do crew modeling that there for us. And so I just wanted to give you a short update on whether it's finished or not, what things I liked about it, what things I would like to change, etc. So if you'll remember, this was a 4-week crochet along where Jess presented the entire cardigan divided into four files, and she would download them every Monday, like in the afternoon. And so you were expected to crochet each of those parts, and by the month time, have finished it. It was not difficult to keep up the pace. The actual crocheting, even though she classifies it as an intermediate project, the actual stitches were not all that difficult. There were double crochets, front post, back posts, and some V-stitches. It was made in 5 pieces, and those 5 pieces, well, give or take, because there were some small pieces along the side, but basically 5 big pieces that you then stitched up together and created the final project. If you remember, I chose, she uses Vanna's Choice, which is an acrylic yarn, in her recommended yarn, or at least the yarn that she created her original project in, and I was using boho floral. It's cotton cake from Caron, and this is the boho floral colorway, and it's basically, I don't have the whole cake left over to show you, but basically all of the colors that you see here were in the cake. Okay, so let's talk about the make. Let's talk about the make. Did I make any changes? Well, the only thing, basic change that I made, besides the fact that I made it in the stripy cake, was that at a point, if I looked at it, ever since I looked at the beginning, I thought the sleeves were going to be too short, because it seemed to me like they were reaching about here. So I did make the sleeves a little longer, and I later realized that that was a mistake, that that I made them too long. Maybe it wasn't a mistake to add a couple of rows, but I made them, I think, too long. The end of this sleeve should roll up, let's say more or less about this length, and there's supposed to be a strap. There is a strap that goes from here up to here with a button. It is a strap and a button, not a functional button, which means once the strap is put in, and the button is adhered, you can't like take it out like you would on some of those let's say boyfriend shirts that they make, where you take it out and unroll it in case you're a little colder or need the extra warmth. It's just sewn there, and then it doesn't have any function, So that was one of my thoughts, if I wanted it to be functional or not. Would I at some point want to take the button out and have the cardigan this long? Well, not this long. This was just, I don't know what it was. I just added too many rows to the top. So, yeah, but it was hard to fix once you have it made. Right now, if I wanted to fix that, I would have to detach from here, which is still possible because it's only sewn together. I would detach it and then take off the rows at the top to make it shorter. But I don't know. I for the most part, I think I'm going to leave it like that. And if I put in a strap, I'll just put the strap in with this folded. So I'm undecided about the strap. It is merely an accessory. It's just merely aesthetics. It makes it look really nice. I actually do like that button there. I think it's a nice addition to the cardigan. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that button there. I think I would like to have a wooden button on this, so I might just still do that. And I think that basically that was the only change, except for using a larger yarn. Vanna's Choice is number 3 in terms of its width. It's what we would consider maybe a light worsted or a DK. And this yarn is a number 4, which is actually a worsted cotton. A worsted cotton is not acrylic. It has no acrylic in it. Or does it? I'll check back to you on that. It is, yes, it is 60% cotton and 40% acrylic. 60% cotton and 40% acrylic. So that was, I guess the major. The other difference was that she makes this band, the pocket band, separate and then sews it on. And at that point, I'm not a big fan of sewing pieces together, so I just crocheted it directly on to the side piece there, and I don't know, I don't think it looks bad. I don't think that was a big thing. Out of this, I guess the biggest problem that I have with it is maybe the stripes. Having chosen the Caron cake to make with it, maybe I'm not so happy with the way the abrupt changes in yarn color worked out. I think I like it better if, like, this is doesn't have, on this side here, you can't see as many. Like, if this would have gone all the way up to the top, I would have been much happier. I could have done it because you could have separated the cake into its colors, and then you could have just made sure that each one of those segments was of an equal width. But I didn't do that. I thought it might just, it's totally makes, it's useless, the cake, if I have to do that, because I want the separate colors and not the continuous color. But I have seen recent cardigans where they're doing that, and I guess it's a choice that you can make. And it's probably a choice that I would have liked to make, because out of everything, the thing that bothers me the most is this side. The bottom part, it has a rim at the bottom that ribbing at the bottom, made in front post, back post, all the way around. I did cake up, out of the cakes that I had, the parts of the cakes that I had left, I did cake up this color. I took that color from each cake and put it together. And so I could have this rim in one color, which is what I wanted. But my idea was that I wanted the same color all the way up, you know, around the side, this front rim. But I didn't have enough. So I made it up to the top here, like let's say up to this top corner, and continued in yellow. It has 2 rounds, so I went back, and that's why there's only 1 round of yellow here, but there is 2 over here. And I think I didn't like that choice. I think I would have preferred to stop down here at the bottom with the pink and just make that whole rim in yellow. I do have some left over, and I think I have enough to do that first, maybe half of the front part. I think I have enough. And so I am thinking about ripping it back. I didn't weave in my ends here because I was thinking about ripping it back and redoing this side only in yellow. I don't like frogging, but I'm really seriously thinking about it. If you look at it from the back, okay, I guess the abrupt changes in yarn are more obvious. And let me see, is it obvious on either of these? Not as much. But anyway, if you can live with that, then you can use the striped yarn like I used. If you can't live with it, a lot of cakes are on sale right now. If you can't live with that, then my guess is that you would have to choose your colors, because I do like the striping a lot. I actually do like those colors a lot. They're very light and happy and springy. But I just, I'm not okay with those abrupt changes. So if you ask me, I would do it differently. But that's just me. Somebody else might like it. So it's not totally finished because I have to decide whether I am going to disconnect this and redo it. And I also have to consider whether I'm going to put on those straps with the button, which I think will make it look nice. I haven't thought about putting a button over here on the side pocket. One other thing, now that I mentioned the pocket, that I was unsure of, were this lining on the inside. The lining where you put the hand. The actual pocket, though it's functional, is not totally to my liking because the hand doesn't fit completely. And the inside lining it's made with this like meshy fabric. And I thought like, oh, for a pocket, I don't know if I want that mesh. You can't keep small things inside. Something would actually come out of that hole, or maybe even break it because it's going through the hole and forcing it. So I understand why she made it this way, because she wanted it to look like, you know, part of the stitches that were already being used. But I don't know. It's on the inside. I'm not really going to see it. I think I would have just made it maybe even single crochet and I might have even knit it, who knows. But just try to keep it small and closed so that, yeah, you could actually use it. You could actually use it. But I would make it again. I would make it again trying it in the stripe. Yes, I would. I wouldn't give this away to anybody, but I would make it again. I mean, I'm fine with it and I will use it, but I would make it again. I'm always saying that I won't make things twice because life is short and there's so many things to make. But I did like the pattern. It was easy enough, and yeah, I would like to see it in stripes that do not end in this abrupt manner. So that was my almost finished project for this episode. It's almost there, but I guess it's more due to my insatisfaction that I don't want to say that it's finished yet. And so we'll see what happens with that one. You'll remember that another project that I was working on was living in my hydrangea bag that I purchased from In a Pickle Knitting. She's In a Pickle Knitting podcast, and she is In a Pickle Knitting on Etsy. I don't know how frequently she uploads projects to sell in her site, but this was a special project that she worked on in memory of a dear friend, and she was selling the bags. I purchased one, and in the bag I have been working on my Impressionist shawl. It is no longer a cowl. The cowl ended in May, at the end of May, and as we discussed before, I knew I wasn't going to be able to make it. It is now just one file with with the whole project inside, and you can obviously still get it. This is from Helen Stewart of Curious Handmade, and this is what I've got up to now. I don't know if you can tell how much I have worked on it since the last time, because of the fact that it's been very slow. The last time I had finished clue number 1, which is about up to here. And so this is what I've been working on up to now. I'm still on clue number 2. And I've got maybe 5 rows to go before I finish clue number 2. So I'm not that far away from finishing it. But the difficulty is that this beginning part of here, if you ask me, it was easy. Because it was basically the same stitch pattern over and over again. It might have been one stitch pattern for the right side and one stitch pattern for the wrong side, but that repeated over and over again throughout this whole clue, and throughout half of clue number 2. I mean, throughout the clue number 1 and half of clue number 2. And so this part here, where you can sort of see, though because my knitting is so fatal, you probably really can't appreciate it that much, but you might be able to see that there is some type of pattern working up here. Or you might have some type of a leafy figure once I'm finished. You can actually see the finished project if you go to this hashtag Impressionist Cal. And you can actually see on Instagram, you can actually see, or you could go to Ravelry, Curious Handmade, and go to her Ravelry page, and she has finished objects thread there, and you can actually see the finished objects. There are a lot of them done. But yes, it does have some type of a floral pattern happening up at the top. But since I am such a terrible knitter still, every once in a while I'll have an extra stitch, or I won't have enough stitches, and so I will either make a stitch or knit 2 together so to get rid of it, and that sometimes disrupts. And very frequently I found myself dropping stitches. Very frequently. And so there probably are some extra holes here that shouldn't be there. But this is a learning experience for me, because it's the one big knitting project that I carry out every year, and it's basically, which is probably the reason why I'm not too good at it, because I only do it about once a year. But the purpose behind it is just to learn new stitches and to see if I can handle my tension better, and to just see if someday I can knit by choice, and then say, oh, look at a project and not have to worry about whether it's knit or crochet, and just say, oh, I'm going to make that. I don't know if I'll achieve that goal, if I'll reach that goal, but that was my purpose. However it turns out, with all the extra holes and bits and whatnot, I will use it because the yarn is very special to me. It was one colorway made specifically for the Edinburgh Yarn Festival. It's called Edinburgh. It was a colorway made by Woolen Vine. And if you go to her, well, no, you'd have to see a podcast, because her store is always empty. She puts up yarn and in 5 minutes it's gone. But maybe on her podcast, if you want to watch up, the recent one, the latest one, she knit up a pair of socks in this colorway, and you can see how it is very different from this original one. The ones that she has later on dyed are a bit different. So that's one of the main colors. The other main color is this, which is memories of when I was dyeing with avocados. It was very hard to find avocado pits or consume avocados this year in Puerto Rico. They were all coming from imported. They were all imported because of the fact that we were hit by Hurricane Maria. So yeah, that yarn has a fond memory for me. So this project will always be fun for me, no matter how it turns out. So I will continue to work on it, and hopefully, well, I will update you as updates are needed, because if I've only got 1 or 2 rows, right now I'm about at a pace of 1 row a day, because we're at almost 400 stitches, and that takes me a long time, especially on this part, because each row has a different stitch pattern. And so it's not something I can memorize. Every time I finish one row, I have to learn something new. And so it's taken me, as an inexperienced knitter, it takes me a long time. But I will continue to work on it. I will finish it, and I will share it with you once I've finished. The third project that I was working on then was my first experience at knitting socks. And so I'm full of first experience this year. I wonder if that was in my year goals. I can't even remember. I was working on this sock. You will remember. And I was working on them consecutively, not 2 at a time, but I was doing some rows on this and then some rows on the other to try and keep them the same length. They are not at the same length right now. You can see that this one has a couple of extra rows, but this one is already at the stage where I can begin the heel. This is, the yarn is Exploding TARDIS by Kayleen of Little Bean Loves Yarns. And it was I know it was a collaboration that she did, I think, I don't know. It was a collaboration that she did with someone, and there was a bag included with the yarn, and there was a stitch marker also, and it was a gift that I had purchased originally for my daughter. So I probably have said that before, but anyway, I stayed with the yarn because she said she was never going to knit, and this is what I've been working on. This I'm stitching this up using and following the Sockmatician's Sew Up Socks. It's a recipe that he has on sale in his Ravelry page, and in this recipe he basically tells you how to make the sock based on your actual foot measurements so that the sock will fit perfectly. And at this point where I am, he is telling me to knit this until, let me use my other hand, knit this until the sock covers my hand completely and is reaching the thumb, where the thumb connects the hand, but not at the top, at the bottom, where the thumb connects the hand at the bottom. And at that point you are ready to insert your heel. He uses short row, German short row heel. And so once this is the same size as this other one, then I will tackle the German short row heel, and I'll get back to about how I was doing with that, because I have some feeling that it's not going to be as cool a ride as I would like it to be. I don't know. It's just probably me being a pessimist and all that. But this has not been difficult, of course, because I'm just using knit stitches all the way around. I have no pattern in my foot, and I will have no pattern in my leg. I was just trying to get a basic sock done. And so, but, you know, as with everything else, I'm a slow knitter. So even though I was in a car for 5 hours working on this, somebody else would have probably finished it by now. 5 hours on the road, 5 hours on the plane, but not me. It's not interesting knitting. It's an experience, but it's not interesting. It's easy enough because my tension is not too tight, and my stitches are flowing on the needle, but it's not interesting enough to keep me awake for 5 hours. So I've never worked on it 5 hours in a row. I usually lose my concentration at some point and have to take a break. But yes, I have been diligently working on that, and I will continue. My daughter is going to visit me at the end of this month. She is coming to Puerto Rico. This is my oldest daughter, and she will be here for a couple of weeks. And Clarissa will also be here. They'll have some time in common. Well, they'll be here at the same time, because I think the idea was to spend my birthday with me, which is in July. So I wanted to have it finished so I could gift it to her as a present for my birthday. But we'll see how that works out. The reason I don't see it going too quickly, as the reason I don't see me being able to do more than 1 row a day on the shawl, is because I was called back to work this summer. Is not normal for me. I haven't worked summer in a couple of years, but they needed some professors, and I am teaching. In the summer you can only teach 2 classes a day, because it's basically 3 or 4 hours a day for each course, depending on how many credits it's worth. And that goes on for 15 weekdays, So I'll be over with the course at the end of July, before my daughter comes. But it has working I have to leave here very early in the morning, so working all day long and getting home at around 7:30 in the evening doesn't leave me in a position where I have a lot of time to work on these crafts that are new for me. I could probably do less of crocheting, but things that are new to me, well, I don't work on them at night because because I will fall asleep, and so I don't want to ruin them. But hopefully at some point they'll be done. They'll be done, and I can send them to her if I can't give them to her now. So that was my last project that I was able to work on while I was in New Hampshire. Most of the other things that I would like to share with you are ideas, my dream crochet, only in my dream crochet. Well, not only my dream, some of them will actually come true. But I wanted to share with you one of the things I was doing during my end of year, end of summer, end of spring cleanup is to look through my magazines. And while I was in New Hampshire, I also went to bookshops looking to see if I could purchase some crochet magazines, because we don't receive a lot of them on this part of the island, maybe in San Juan, but not on this part of the island. And so I usually, when I make a trip to the States, try and pick up on magazines. So I did pick up a couple of them. A couple of them were free, because one of the things that I did while I was in New Hampshire was visit a yarn shop, and they had expired old magazines that maybe didn't sell, or I don't know, maybe they belonged to somebody, but they had them in a box and they were giveaways, they were free. So I picked up 3 of them just quickly, you know, I just saw them, picked them up, and without looking through them so much. But when I got home and I looked through them, I actually saw that I had made some pretty good choices. And so I wanted to share some of those with you. This is one of the first ones that I picked up. It's an Interweave Crochet magazine, summer 2011. So they weren't new magazines, they were pretty old, but I still think that is so pretty. I still think that is so pretty, and I would love to make that. I'm not a big fan of sleeveless, as I think I've shared with you in the past, but I'm pretty sure just looking at it that something could be done to add a sleeve to that garment. And so, oh, I thought that was gorgeous make. There were 2 more that I also thought were very nice in here. These are summer, so they are made with cotton or some type of, not wool, they're not made with wool. And so here's one that's made in Aunt Lydia's bamboo. This is a pine cone stitch at the bottom, and I thought that was very pretty. And here's another one that is made with 100% mercerized cotton. So maybe Aunt Lydia's too, but how pretty is that? And for the summer, and I really like them. And so, yes, there were, I mean, I know tons of other things in here that I could share with you, but I just wanted to share with those things that I'm actually putting on my queue list. I'm marking the page because I want to get back to them. And in the next one that I want to share with you, for example, it's another Interweave Crochet from 2014. And this magazine on the front cover has what is called the convergence top, because I saw this on Ravelry in the past before I actually purchased this. And when I prefer much more to have a printed item in my hand to read and to crochet from than to have a digital one. It's just, I guess I'm old school. But I've wanted to make that. It's been on my queue in Ravelry for such a long time. And I had actually purchased this same magazine from Interweave, but an online version. I didn't even remember. I didn't even remember until I got home and started looking into Interweave Crochet, and saw that in my queue, in my list of purchases from them, I had this magazine in digital. But I'm so happy that now I have it in this printed format, because it's got so many pretty things in it that, I mean, that I think I would be willing to make. And so I'm so glad that I have it now in a printed format. It's just a darling magazine. It's got a lot of old school vintage things, and so vintage looking anyway. This is from 2014. It's actually a more recent version than the previous one. So yes, this is actually when I got home to my son's house, I ordered the yarn to make this. This is made with a special blend that I had never seen before. This is made with Noro Taijo sock. It's distributed, sock yarn. It's distributed by Knitting Fever. And I don't remember where I actually bought it right now, but I did go online, I did find it, and I did purchase it. It's 50% cotton, 17% wool, 17% nylon, and 16% silk. And so I think that's going to be glorious when I touch that. Now it's number one. What would that make it? A light fingering? Maybe a light fingering. So I can't wait. It was in the mail when I last checked on Friday, so it should be here early during this week. And that might even be my next make. I have to get up a make for my birthday. I was just thinking about that yesterday, that I need a birthday make. Well, maybe that'll be it. Maybe that'll be the thing that I cast on, hook up for my birthday, because it is crochet. Okay, other magazines that I have in my stash that I wanted to share with you. Let me see. 2 of them were purchased recently on this trip. The first one that was purchased on this trip was this purchased on this trip? I'm not sure right now. I'm not sure right now because I don't think this was purchased on this trip. But anyway, I'll share it with you. Whenever it was, no, it's not because it's from April. I might have purchased it when I went to Florida. The reason that I purchased it was because it's got this pattern in it. And not so much the pattern. The yarn is used for several projects. They've got necklace jewelry, and they've got sweaters in the same yarn. And they've got this wonderful scarf. This wonderful scarf that I told Elizabeth I just had to make. And the yarn it's Rowan, and it's Rowan, I believe it's part wool, part hemp. Let me check for you. The yarn is, Rowan hemp tweed, 75% wool, 25% hemp. And so I looked it up also. Well, I looked it up as soon as I got this magazine. They've got socks in there too. And like, for example, for the scarf, it'll turn out to be pricey because it uses a lot of yarn. The ruffles I'm guessing use a lot of yarn, but it is so pretty. I am so tempted. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'll just buy 1 ball or 2 balls and make the socks and then see how, what the texture is, how it works up, and see if I can find a substitute that is less pricey. But I just love it. I thought that was beautiful. This magazine also, as I am remembering, has a project. I can't find it right now. But I know it's got Rosina's project in it. Yeah. This project by Rosina of the Zines and Roger podcast. There it is. So it's cool to open up a magazine and see something from somebody you know. We actually have met, but, well, I thought that was terrifically cute. Okay, so those are some of the things that I would like to make. And in this last one, here's something that's been on my radar for some time. This is Inside Crochet. I always find it really difficult to issue 87, and this is something I have been eyeing for some time. I like the way the yoke is made vertically and then the body is made in the round. And so I've been looking through my stash trying to figure out if I have yarn that I could actually use to make this. This is made with wool and nylon, but I try not to make a lot of things in wool because I can only use them when I visit the States or visit my children, and in the colder months, because at this time of year I couldn't use them. So yeah, I like to experiment with yarns that might be a little cooler. So I've been looking through my stash and look what I found. Well, is this right? This isn't right. They got mixed up. Here. Here's my first set. There's a one of a kind from Nora George. So it doesn't have a name, it was one of a kind. And this one is Superwash Merino. This is a silk blend from Fierce Fibers in the colorway Bronze. And this is a wool silk blend also from Little Bean Loves. She had this as part of a set of hanks that she dyed up for a certain project, and I purchased them without knowing what I would do with them, mainly because they had silk in them, and so I thought that would make the yarn a little cooler. But wouldn't that make a nice faded top? I think that's wonderful. And in addition to that, well, here's this. Here's this set, which actually I think is from the same set as the previous yellow one that I showed you, but wouldn't that make a wonderful faded top or a faded shawl or something? I think it's just beautiful. So I've got stuff in my stash that I could use to make some of those projects that I'm looking at. It's just a matter of sitting down and getting them done. So let me now talk about, well, it's still in the line of future makes, because any acquisition that you make, you have to turn it into something in the future. So I have two things left I want to talk to you about. One of them is a wonderful happy mail that I received from Claudia of the Crochet Luna podcast. Claudia sent me a package. Those are one of those virtual friends that you have on the internet, but you feel like you've known them forever, though you actually don't. But it's amazing how much we get to know each other through these podcasts, a little bit of sharing of our life updates that we do in each podcast. Other people get to know us. And Claudia sent me a package in which she said that she had realized that I was a Snoopy fan. And she not only sent this bag to me, but Claudia made this bag. Claudia has a shop that she recently put on Etsy, and it's a shop where she sells project bags and pins, and I don't know if there's some other things there. I think there's some other tags and things like that, planner pages and things like that she designs, because Claudia her background is an artist, is in art, and so she is very creative, and she made this bag thinking of me. She actually said she was thinking of me when she made this bag. So, and it's the same on both sides, drawstring bag, and on the inside it's got her label, which is also a work of art. And so thank you so much, Claudia, for making my day with this. It's pretty big, it's pretty roomy, so any of those garments that I'm planning on making in the future could fit in here. And I just love it. I think it's lovely. And so thank you, Claudia, so much for sharing this with me. I just was so flabbergasted. I didn't have any words when I received it. It was so unexpected. But this wasn't all. In addition to the bag, she sent me two panels. Again, because she knows that I am a fan of Peanuts, the Peanut characters, and Snoopy. And she sent me two of these panels, which I already know what I'm going to do with them. I am going to make a pillow. Actually, I'm going to make two pillows. I'm going to put a different on the back. I might even crochet the back. How about that? I am going to maybe just crochet a granny rectangle or something like that on the back. And I'm going to make one pillow for my craft room and one pillow for Clarissa's room. And we're going to share this. We're going to share this. When she comes, if she wants to take it with her, well, she could do that. So thank you, Claudia, again. I think they're fabulous. And thank you for thinking of me. A third thing that she said that she saw in a shop and thought of me was this book. Who sends you a book? I mean, you know. Here, this book. Knitting loves crochet. She said that she saw this and remembered me because in previous podcasts I have talked about how I like to join and make projects that are from multiple crafts. And sometimes I'll crochet a sock and add on a knitted cuff or a knitted toe. And sometimes I will just try and join knitting in that manner. And it's not always that you can find projects that are made that way. I think a lot of the vintage projects, if you look on for vintage patterns on Etsy or just search the web for those, you will find that a lot of those designs, they used knitting to its advantage and crochet to its advantage, and they joined the two crafts. So thank you, Claudia. I love it already. And just look at that top. I think that top is gorgeous. I think it's gorgeous. And look at the jewelry. It's just fabulous. I like the whole design setup there. So yes, I have been looking through it, and I've already found that it is great reading because it actually talks to you about the strengths of one craft and the strengths of the other craft, and it gives you ideas of how you can unite them in different projects, and tries to like eliminate a little bit of the idea that crochet and knitting are always in competition, that they need to be enemies, when they're just actually crafts and you just use them as you feel fit. So thank you. I will put this book to great use, and I've been already looking through it, trying to find some projects that I can work on in the upcoming months. But was that all? No, that was not all. Claudia also designs pins, and so she shared with me her pins. I don't know if these are the only two designs. I know she has a third one, and I think she's got another one that she designed for some of the cows that are upcoming on her YouTube channel. So she sent me this one. One of them says, "Crochet friends are the best of friends," and the other is her logo for her YouTube channel. And so I feel very special receiving these, and I am glad. She also sent me a third one, making me an official member of the Dodgy Bag Club. So thank you, Claudia. It says, it's got a message at the bottom that says, "For the love of yarn, color, and everything else that makes you happy." And so you should visit her site on Etsy. I don't know if you can see it here because this is still in the plastic and it might have some shine to it. www.etsy.com/shop/crochetluna. But that wasn't all. She sent these for me, and then she also sent me one to share with one of you on a giveaway. And so there it is, a prize to include in the giveaway that I have been talking about and haven't yet done. So maybe that'll be inspiration for some of you to keep on watching this podcast and to watch out for that giveaway. I want to talk a little bit about the giveaway in a moment, but before I do that, I want to also mention that in addition to traveling to New Hampshire to visit my son, I was able to travel to New Hampshire to also meet up with Vivian of the KCACY podcast. Vivian is the knitter. And she took us, my husband went along with us, so she took us to a fabulous restaurant in Concord where we met up. We met up in Concord, which is the capital of New Hampshire, because she thought it was halfway between where she lived and I was staying. And so she took us to the Common Man. It has several restaurants in the area, but we went to the one in Concord. And my husband and I both believe that it was a fabulous choice, probably one of the best choices that we had made well, we didn't make the choice, but one of the best choices that had been made for us in a long time. And the reason behind it was because they have a great variety of on their menu, on their offerings. We could find vegetarian option for my husband, who is a vegetarian and pretty strict one. And I could find gluten-free for me, because when I am able, I try to be gluten-free or at least gluten light. And there were obviously other options that Vivian could enjoy. It was a nice place, the time of day, maybe because it was lunch hour, it was there wasn't a lot of people, there wasn't a lot of noise. The waitress was very kind, and so we just had a wonderful lunch, chatting with Vivian, getting to know each other better, and being able to at the same time savor some great food. So thank you, Vivian, for that choice. You made my husband a happy man that day. And in addition to that, Vivian took me to my first ever visit to a local yarn shop. I go to a lot of yarn shops, but online. I visit them online, and I usually make my purchases online, which is by no means as good a feeling as being in a yarn shop and actually being able to squish and smell and look at everything that they have. So I am going to include here a video of our meetup, a short video. It's not long, but I'm going to include a little bit about how we met up and what the yarn store looked like. The yarn shop was called The Elegant U, E-W-E, The Elegant U, and it is in Concord, New Hampshire. And now say hi to the camera.
Oh. Hi, is it a video or is it that's a picture?
I'm trying to take a video as walking into this.
Oh, okay. We're going in.
Dramatic.
Oh no, this is the wrong one.
What was that?
That was, I think it's Deli.
Like 35. I used to be able to see that distance. Now I can't. 35 and 50. That would be a fine. All right.
Okay.
And I think these two could be fine. Those two are 37, 31. And then I think the rest, yeah.
So it was a nice time. We both purchased some sock yarn, I believe. I believe she purchased some sock yarn too. And I want to share with you what I purchased there. So there were 1,000 things to choose from, and as usually occurs when I'm in a place where I have 1,000 choices, I don't know what to pick. So I kept it simple. I stuck to the sock yarn, and I chose some sock yarn that I know I hadn't seen before. I probably could get them online, but I hadn't seen before, and since I was there, these were my choices. I'm just going to reach over and get them because they are on the table beside me. And so the first choice was this Regia cotton sock yarn, which, if I'm not mistaken, I think that Allison of the KCACY podcast made her first socks in this, because she mentioned using a cotton sock yarn. And so it's Regia, and I got 2 colors, one for Clarissa and one for me, and she'll be able to pick which one she prefers. But the blend, let's see what the blend is. This is 72% cotton, 18% polyamide, and 10% polyester. So it is also self-patterning. So we will be making up socks. Well, I will. I know I will make up socks with this, and I will gift one to Clarissa to see if she would like to make one too. And let's see if there's a difference. Let's see if there's a difference in the yarn itself. Let's see if it's splitty. And let's see if it how it, you can walk in it, how it works up compared to a wool yarn, which we know it can be fluffy and comfortable and durable. Let's see how this works up. So I was glad to get that. The other yarn that I got mostly because I was curious about the thing. It is a yarn called, let's see, Kinda Magic Socks. It's from Wool and the Gang. And the idea is that in this little cake here, or this little ball here, they have balled up the colors in such a way that you knit continuously. You don't have to break to make your heels, to make your cuff, or to make your toes. And you knit continuously. I believe it's cuff down. And with this you can create 2 identical socks that look like that. And so was I curious? Yes, I was curious. How is this balled up in such a way that I can make 2 socks? Well, yeah, I can see now. You see the way it's got this color here, and if I look on the inside, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, probably not, but I can see that that color occurs again on the inside, which must occur at several places. I guess it's made for knitting, so that they give you, and it has instructions. So most likely, they expect the cuff to be a certain width, they expect the heel to occur at a certain place, and then the toe to occur a certain place and be of a certain length. So in that sense, they have rolled up this yarn to follow those measurements for knitting. Now, wouldn't it be interesting to try and crochet up a sock and see if I can make that yarn work for crochet socks? I thought that would be an interesting experiment. So I purchased this. I don't know if Vivian purchased the same color, but I do know that she did purchase this yarn also. So let's see what happens in the near future. I'm thinking that that is basically all I wanted to share with you today. I'm a little bit over the timeline that I wanted to make. The only other thing I wanted to mention was that in the previous podcast, I have noticed that usually I am getting more views than I have subscribers. And I'm probably at about 284, 85 subscribers right now. And I'm going to set my first milestone at 300. When I reach 300 subscribers, I am going to do that first giveaway that I have been talking about so much. One of the prizes in the giveaway you have already seen will be a pin from Crochet Luna. And there will be other prizes in there. For example, there were, it might not be here, but there were little project bag that I brought back from my trip to Edinburgh. There's some patches that I purchased. We'll include some jewelry there for you and some mini skeins. And it'll be a bundle. It'll be a bundle that we will share with one of our subscribers on our first giveaway. So maybe that he has something to say, and he wants to hear it too. What he is saying, if you don't understand him, is please, please subscribe. Subscribe so that I can reach my 300 subscriber milestone, and I will be able to pick one of you subscribers as a recipient of that little package that I've been putting together for months. So don't forget to hit the like button below if you like the content I have shared with you today. Hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed so you can participate in our giveaways. And please come back. Thank you for spending all this time with me. Thank you for taking out that time in your day to share with me and for all of your wonderful comments. Stay tuned. And in the meantime, before we meet again, hopefully in 2 weeks, you'll be back here and you will want to share some more time with me. And in the meantime, keep yourself safe, keep yourself happy, and please, please, please keep yourself crafting. Bye for now. See you soon.